Grand Rising Soul fam. My name is Sheena, and it is my joy and pleasure to welcome you to Roots to Wings, the Mother's Wonder PauseCast. This is a space for women living the real embodied journey of motherhood in all its beauty, complexity, and becoming. In a world full of noise, opinions, and misinformation, this podcast is an invitation to slow down and listen, to lived experience, to inner knowing, and to the quiet intelligence of our bodies. Here, I get to sit in conversation with mothers and women walking the mothering path, some holistic, some unconventional, some deeply traditional in their own way, each choosing again and again to trust themselves as they raise children and tend life. This podcast is for women who are curious, discerning, and devoted. For those who sense there's more than one right way to mother. For those who believe wisdom is carried in the body, in stories, and in shared presence. So let's arrive with a breath. This is a pause for remembering. This is the mother's wonder. So let's just take a breath together now, just allowing ourselves to arrive into the space, just allowing ourselves to release the day thus far, perhaps taking the deepest breath that you've taken all day long, maybe breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just allowing something to soften, any tension you may be holding on to be released. And just allowing ourselves the joy of being in sacred conversation. So today I am joined by my sister Kyomi, daughter of Brenda, granddaughter of Beryl, mother of May, who comes from a long line of Japanese matriarchs on her father's side. And in this podcast, I love to begin with lineage because I believe that motherhood is not an isolated experience, that it lives in the body, in our memories, and in the stories that move through us. So today I'm so excited to have this conversation with Kyomi, which I know could go in a million different directions, and I am here for all of it. So as we get started, Kyomi, I would just love to welcome you into the space and hear how you are today, how you're arriving.
Oh, thank you, Sheena. And I just want to acknowledge you as well for the journey that you're going on and what a gift it is to be sitting in your presence as well as a wise woman who is
Mm.
entering this portal in a way that is much more conscious than I imagine it would have been if you did it when you were much younger or
Mm.
in a different phase of your life. You're approaching this sort of from somebody who, in many ways, has already stepped in from maiden to mother as a
Mm.
soul in your own life. So with a wherewithal that is quite unusual. So I'm also curious to see how this unfolds for you.
I love it. So, as we get started, what do you wish someone told you around pregnancy before you got pregnant? What is something that, like a word of wisdom or something that may have helped you along this journey?
Well, if someone had told it to me, I probably wouldn't have listened. But if me from the future showed up in a dream or something, I probably would have listened. And so, so I would say to my past self, you're spiritually bypassing with a lot of the work that you're doing to prepare.
Mm.
And I didn't really know what spiritual bypassing was at the time. I thought I was doing all the right things. And now I understand that becoming a woman who can step through that portal consciously from maiden to mother, who can bring a child into this realm in a way that's empowered, doing it from a place of surrender, that you are stewarding this child who's not yours, but is a child of God.
Mm.
That is something that you don't have to improve yourself or perfect yourself to become capable of doing. You don't
Mm.
have to learn more. and do more courses and do more somatic therapy to do inner healing. All of those things are so beautiful and wonderful in your own journey to do for yourself.
Mhm.
But you already have it within you to birth this child the way that this child needs to be birthed. There
Mhm.
is nothing that you could do that is going to take you from a state of incompetence to competence because you're
Mhm.
already competent.
Mhm.
That's what I would say to myself. It's like, girl, beautiful. If you want to do all those things, go for it.
Mhm.
But don't for a second think that you are earning the right to birth this baby. You have the right to
Mhm.
birth this baby. This
Wow.
baby chose you to be birthed by. Your body has a baby in it. That should be a signal enough that you are the one who can do this, nobody else.
Mhm.
Like, this is your baby. And I think I was sort of subconsciously waiting for someone to give me permission. And
Mhm.
because I don't trust, or I didn't trust other people or authority or the government or,
Mhm.
you know, a care practitioner to do that, I
Mhm.
was looking to education to do that for me, some
Mhm.
kind of credibility from me doing more work on myself.
Mhm.
That's what I was looking to as an authority. I
Mhm.
was still outsourcing to authority, but
Mhm.
it was more competence rather than a person or a system.
That's so beautifully said. I totally resonate with that. This idea of just looking for that validation that you know what you're doing, or it's going to be in the next book or after the next podcast. But I love that refrain. And I love, and I know that I want to unpack even more this idea around stewarding the children that are coming in, recognizing they're a child of God. And like we talked about even before we hit record, that they came in with their own soul mission and just being an encourager of that. I love so much. And I would love to hear you speak a little bit more about just what surprised you the most about becoming a mother.
Oh, that's a lot of shock. There were a lot of shocks that came with my process
Mhm.
because I grew up in a religious sect, a
Mhm.
kind of a section of a religious brand, like a form of Christianity that some would call a church and some would call a cult, depends what you define that to be.
Mhm.
And I grew up with a strong connection to spirit and my own spirituality and the interdimensional, multidimensional nature of this existence.
Mhm.
And I thought marrying that with some kind of practical stability was enough,
Mhm.
and having a very strong, committed relationship that had a foundation of a marriage. I thought that I'd done it. I was
Mhm.
like, I did it.
Nailed
Did all the
it.
things. I did the spiritual stuff. I have a career, I have a husband, and I'm gonna now research what is the most evidence-based approach to this next phase of my life of becoming a mother. Do I get a private obstetrician?
Mhm.
At what point should I pay for private health insurance to be eligible, to with a waiting period to be eligible to use that private obstetrician under my insurance?
Mhm.
I got to get pregnant after a few months.
Mhm.
I started researching, and my research led me to, if you look at the evidence, not just what big pharma or anyone wants you to think, if you look at the evidence, where I live in the world in Australia, the gold standard in birth outcomes is privately practicing endorsed midwives
Mhm.
in the physical environment where the woman feels most comfortable.
Mhm.
So having a home birth with a private midwife, which is completely different from having an obstetrician in the hospital, is where
Mhm.
so I did that, and the shock of my life was, after all this, then my marriage coming to a death phase
Mhm.
and everything about the makeup of my life changing.
Mhm.
Um, realizing that I rely on my reputation as a solid member of the church I belonged to more than I thought I did,
Mhm.
losing that. losing everybody I knew, my parents, all my family members, all my friends, my circle, and changing location from one city into a more rural, regional area.
Mm-hmm.
Losing everything at once was kind of the shock for me after becoming a mother.
Wow.
Um, and out the other side of that, of course, I'm very happy that
Mm-hmm.
all of those things happened. But you think if I just research enough and I talk to enough people and I listen to the right podcasts and
Mm-hmm.
I'm psychologically literate, I have relational literacy,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not going to come across big pitfalls like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no escaping the curriculum of this life, which
Yeah.
is to challenge the ego and to
Yeah.
transform us.
Wow. Thank you for sharing all of that. And yeah, what were some of the um I guess the initiations that you felt through motherhood? I know obviously partnership changes became a big one. And I would just love to hear, yeah, a little bit more about how motherhood has changed you or initiated you.
Yeah, so I have a background in psychotherapy and counseling, and I'm an intuitive empath, so I bring a spiritual element into the work that I do.
Mhm.
And for me, that places me quite firmly in a cohort of people that would call themselves in the conscious community or the spiritual community, right?
Mhm.
In every country we have it.
Mhm.
Um, and what I've found is we're in a generation where everybody, not just the conscious community or spiritual people, are thinking about how we can love our children firmly to give them a robust emotional foundation for their life. How
Mhm.
can we wire their neurology so that their default is, I am worthy of love and belonging. I am
Mhm.
welcome wherever I go. I deserve to be here.
Mhm.
That if they deviate from that, that's an outlier, but their default is what they were conditioned with as a child from their
Mhm.
parents. So most people are thinking this way.
Mhm.
And what I'm finding is that the next phase for us to move through is accepting we're doing pretty good at that. The children are all pretty securely attached. Okay,
Mhm.
don't quote me on that because that's a big conversation is
Mhm.
whether children these days are getting what they need.
Mhm.
But what I'm focusing on is how do we as parents take it up a level with the way that we're raising our children?
Mhm.
Secure attachment, yes. Connection focus over top-down authority, yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
But what are we role modeling to the children about how we show up for ourselves, our relationship with ourselves? What's the energy in the house? Because
Mhm.
you can do the perfect low tox lunch boxes
Mhm.
and have your unschooling, homeschooling routine at home with your multiple children, and
Mhm.
you forage and you've got your own chickens and everyone's helping in the household and everything is functioning.
Mhm.
But if you have tension in yourself, if there's incongruence in yourself with the way that you're living on the outside and what's going on in the inside, if there's storms, which there's a lot of that
Mhm.
I see, then they pick up on that. It's not like we can, well, that's bypassing basically. It's not
Mhm.
like we can bypass the inner landscape and just give them the external because they're receiving both from us.
Mhm.
And so my proposal is, can we lower the pressure for ourselves
Mhm.
and think of our baseline as I am already the best mother for this child that they could ever have. I
Mhm.
am already completing my job for them. I'm already giving them everything that they need for
Mhm.
this phase of their life to go on into adulthood.
Mhm.
So, from that place of no pressure, can we launch off with pure curiosity
Mhm.
into, okay, what more can I do? Because I'm so interested in this child and I
Hmm.
want to get to know them and I want to see what they can do and I want to be part of that journey rather than I'm not enough by default and I'm going to work harder and do more to give them more.
Hmm.
Because if I don't, they might not come out the way that I want them to come out.
Hmm. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And, to be able to emanate and embody this, I belong in every room that I'm in. I am already loved. I'm already enough. It's one thing to cerebrally say this, it's another thing to way show this through the actual embodiment of being that, so that your child, just like you said, isn't feeling that incongruency of what she says is not what she does. So to
Yes.
actually embody that is so powerful. And to have the conscious awareness of how these children, yes, they come in with so much wisdom, and also they are so highly impressionable, especially for those first really formidable years. What a gift to be able to be that, even when it means that the relationship dynamics that you're used to, the family dynamics, have to shift and evolve so that you can step fully into that. That's so
Yes.
powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And I'm also aware that some people find it easier to connect to a real life example,
Hmm.
something practical. What does it mean to be focused on our own inner peace and calm,
Hmm.
our own grace and elegance,
Hmm.
and role model that to the children in an everyday situation?
Yeah.
Well, what do you think that looks like? When we talk about that, what comes up in your mind?
Oh my gosh, for me, I am somebody that, as a highly sensitive empath, my time alone of recharging is a non negotiable. It's a time that I'm rinsing out on my yoga mat, I'm sitting at my altar, I'm clearing my head, I'm taking some time to meditate. And I know that that process will look different when my child is here, but I also know how much I desire to incorporate them into seeing mommy do that, and to even just at a very young age having them in the room, just seeing this is a really important practice for me, and I want it to be an important, or at least instill that, because it's important for me, that it could be important for this child, to also give them that grace period, that time of rinsing out the day, recharging. For me, it does look like the solitude of just coming away from the noise, the electricity, the all of it, to just be in nature, be at the altar. But I truly value the idea of way showing that, and knowing that this is how mommy fills her cup up. And let's practice this on how the child also has a way of rinsing out and filling their cup up.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that. Um, yeah, for me, what I've found is that I can bring I can bring a negative energy to anywhere that I go if I want to. So there were times, okay, I had severe postpartum anxiety and postpartum
Mm.
depression. And there were times that I would do yoga in the house or somewhere else. And I was so dysregulated and I was so stressed. And of course that helped me a little bit. Um, but I found for me, of course, it was a bigger journey because I had to unpack massive obstacles and blockages in my life to creating a little bit more inner peace.
Mhm.
But for me, the journey has been a lot to do with how I choose myself in smaller moments,
Mhm.
socially or in the household, or even when I'm engaging with my daughter,
Mhm.
how I allow myself to take a little bit longer to respond.
Mhm.
Or if I'm in a social setting, stepping away from the group
Mhm.
rather than over functioning to make sure that everybody else feels comfortable.
Mhm.
Stuff that a year ago, 2 years ago, I definitely wouldn't have been able to hold myself to quite as much.
Mhm.
Those are the things that I have found. was the curriculum for me.
Mhm.
And May isn't always there when I'm doing those things, but she would always feel the frequency of who I am.
Mhm. Mhm.
So she might not understand that when I'm in a group of adults, what I would do before
Mhm.
is make sure that I remembered everyone's names
Mhm.
and I made sure that everybody got a chance to speak and I
Mhm.
made sure that everybody felt welcome and I
Mhm.
made sure that I would respond in a way that was polite to each person.
Mhm.
And now I give back what resonates with me as true to myself.
Mhm.
And I don't just focus on making sure I'm socially safe first. And so in the past, I thought that what I was doing was just being myself. I
Mhm.
love people.
Mhm.
I love humans.
Mhm.
Humans are my favorite thing. I love
Mhm.
animals, love other stuff, but humans are my favorite. I thought that that was healthy, but it took me a very long time to find out that yes, nervousness and excitement are very closely linked. I
Mhm.
am excited to meet new people and engage with people, and that part was great and beautiful.
Mhm.
But you need to be able to switch from excitement to grounded peace and back to excitement, not excitement, nervousness. That
Mhm.
anxiety is telling you something. And so for me, a piece of it was definitely secure energy of I love people and that's why I'm talking to you and that's why I'm giving you attention and
Mhm.
that's why I'm so interested in making sure that you feel okay is because I love you. I love everyone.
Mhm.
But part of it was if I don't people please, I
Mhm.
might not be safe.
Mhm.
And because there are quirky things about me, and I
Mhm.
am a little different, I'm a little off with the fairies in certain ways,
Mhm.
I need to overcompensate and overfunction in other ways to make sure people know that I'm not rude.
Mhm.
So there was a piece there that wasn't fully accepting that I'm built the way that I am, and that's a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
And so now, rather than first securing the connection and making sure the connection is strong between me and an acquaintance, I now consider that, but I also consider, am I happy with them?
Right.
Do I feel good about how they are showing up right now? Which before I would never consider.
Mhm.
I'd be like, not a priority. Let's just secure this connection so that I'm not unsafe, and then we'll think about whether I like them another time. But
Yeah.
now I do it in the moment.
Mhm.
So I watch and my eyes are wide open and I'm present. I'm
Mhm.
not proving anything.
Mhm.
I trust that if they're as interested in humans and the
Mhm.
connection as I am,
Mhm.
it will flow that way. And they will say things and give, and I will say things and give, and we'll both take care of each other in the relationship and in the conversation.
Mhm.
And if they don't, or they're going a little slower, there's no judgment there.
Mhm.
That's fine. Maybe we'll talk again another day. Maybe we're both a bit tired. I don't need to be bubbly all the time.
Mhm. Mhm.
And um, I also will often exit a conversation first now when I never used to do that before. I would always stay for the maximum amount of time to demonstrate to myself and others that nothing's more important to me than human connection. A
Mhm.
human is the most valuable thing. It's the most interesting thing in my day. So I will stay until they're ready to go. So
Mhm.
may not see or understand consciously any of that adult social stuff,
Mhm.
but she would feel the frequency of a woman who is thinking of her priorities in the right order.
Mhm.
I've got, you could say Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You could
Mhm.
say, you know, this this series
Mhm.
of colors, which I notice you've also got in
I
your
know.
background.
So funny.
Um, at the bottom we've got stabilizers.
Mhm.
As a mother, I have to think, and also as a single mother, I have to think, making sure my child gets fed dinner
Mhm.
is more interesting to me than making sure that this acquaintance I'm chatting with at the beach
Mhm.
is comfortable.
Mhm.
that comes first.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no, it actually doesn't make me unsafe even socially. It actually just weeds out the people who want me to overfunction or people
Mm-hmm.
please. And it
Mm-hmm.
brings in other people who are just as secure, who are also not staying at the beach when it's time for them to make their child dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So, I know those examples are a little specific and out of context.
No, I love it. And it's just so beautiful to hear that you become a mother while you are literally in the rewriting of the codes of codependency, and how interesting of a dichotomy that that is at the same time happening. And so I know that you've talked about this the stewardship of children, and it sounds like this is what's on the other side of the codependency with children and with any relations, is now accepting and honoring the stewardship of the children, that yes, of course I'm going to make you dinner and I'm going to tuck you in at night, and also I'm going to learn why you're here, and I'm going to have a conversation, and I'm going to pivot things around how we develop one another to access these gifts that you came in with. So it feels like just the detangling from the codependency has also rewired how you parent in this stewardship with your child.
Yes, yes. Yeah, codependency is, I think, a really underrated social topic for our whole
Yeah.
generation, for our whole world right now.
Yeah.
Um, to give a bit of a framework first, a lot of people are familiar with attachment styles in
Mm-hmm.
terms of relationships, whether it's romantic relationship or between friends or family members. But we know that we've got avoidant attachment,
Mm-hmm.
anxious attachment,
Mm-hmm.
and secure
Mm-hmm.
and disorganized, which is when you're a mix.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of people fall into anxious or avoidant.
Mm-hmm.
And as a society, I think we're moving in our parenting from avoidant to anxious.
Mm-hmm.
The avoidant epoch was I'm not going to engage with my child in a way that doesn't suit me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to necessarily be emotionally available to them to the full degree that they need in their heart.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as a society, we're going, I will give you my little darling child. I will give you the love. I will give you so much love just to make sure that you
Mm-hmm.
don't feel deprivation of love.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think the idea is how can we not pendulum swing and how can we have a secure relationship with parenting
Mm-hmm.
that is both self-honoring and honoring the needs of the child? Because I do believe we can do both, just like in a romantic relationship, you
Mm-hmm.
can.
Mm-hmm.
People often oscillate between I want an avoidant partner or I want an anxious partner. For often like with females, which are more typically on the anxious side,
Mm-hmm.
it's tall, dark, and handsome, cool, calm, collected, a little emotionally unavailable. That's the avoidant archetype. Oh, swoon.
Swoon.
Um, and then a little bit of oh, I'm done with that. That was really traumatic. I feel
Mm-hmm.
really affected. Switch to an anxious. Give
Mm-hmm.
you anything, little bit of love bombing possibly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I'll marry you, let's have children together. Um, and then eventually you realize, oh, if I really, really look at the truth of this relationship, there's a bit of a lack of depth of this person really seeing me and respecting my own freedom and autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
And they have an idea of who I need to be for them to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a different problem than what we have with an anxious male.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, instead of oscillating between the two
Mm-hmm.
or settling for one,
Mm-hmm.
going, well, at least I don't have a clingy guy, or
Mm-hmm.
at least I know that my man really loves me.
Mm-hmm.
Can we be in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
which is have a secure relationship where both people respect that the other one has their own life and their own human inside, and
Mm-hmm.
we're just curious about each other, and we want to choose each other every day to share our
Mm-hmm.
day with and what's going on in our life. We
Mm-hmm.
want to tell them that they're the person that we want to tell about our cool stuff going on in the empire we're building.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and of course, want to share children with them. And they're
Mm-hmm.
the one that we think would be an incredible father or whatever. So with parents to children,
Mm-hmm.
to not pendulum swing, it's the same in that we need to feel secure in ourselves that we are enough as a parent. And then our connection is based on curiosity and having extra, having a surplus to give them
Mm-hmm.
because we take such good care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I know that's a little theoretical. That's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of words and frameworks, but what does it really mean in how we're raising our children? What does it mean to be not codependent with our child?
Yeah.
Um, so I'm definitely somebody who experienced codependence with my baby. I
Mm-hmm.
was very anxious as a
Mm-hmm.
young mom, and I would lash out at my ex-husband for not, I was drowning, and so I wanted help.
Mm-hmm.
Help me to raise my child with the standards that I think she needs.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of desperate energy.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I see transmuting that shadow of codependence
Mm-hmm.
now with the children is focusing on it as stewardship, that they're actually not these helpless little beings,
Mm-hmm.
that there's more to them than I think there's got to be a more articulate way of saying this. Like we discussed this before we started recording, and
Mm-hmm.
it was way smoother. Because I default to frameworks and like a sort of summary of the whole point and the concept rather than giving like talking about things practically because I assume other people have the same mental models and they can translate my summary into their actual physical experience, but actually people usually can't.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that most people can do. So people need to hear words that are related to their everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still learning how to sort of think of those. Um,
Well, I know that one of the things that you touched on before that I'd love to unpack a little bit more before we were recording around those formative years. And I know that she's only like 5, so she's still in this very impressionable time, but that there was some emotional regulation that was so instilled in her that's you're already seeing the results of that. And I'd love to just hear a little bit more around what some of those practices were that you're already receiving the results of in who she is now.
yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's really nice when they start to get past 3, even 2,
Mhm.
and you can see the fruits of your labor because in the
Mhm.
beginning, when they're a blob, of
Yeah.
course, they're adorable and squishy and tiny, but the data that you're getting back is not very conclusive.
Mhm.
But from 2, it starts to become quite conclusive because you can see them respond to challenges, you can see them assess risk, you can see them express emotion, regulate or calm themselves. You can see things that are like, oh, wow, this could have gone 100 different ways. But
Mhm.
I'm seeing over and over again, um, this child makes eye contact with me. Um, they they calm down and like their body is going through like a perfect sequence of a biologically normal response to a healthy life and set of challenges.
Mhm.
So, oh, was your question like what did you do when she was a baby and in those first 3 years?
Yeah, that feels like it's
Yeah.
like paying off. I put in air quotes right
Okay.
now, but you're seeing like, wow, that left an impression that here she is with risk assessment and in her sovereignty and this kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah, I'll preface this with saying, of course, every child is very different. They have
Mhm.
different personalities, character, physical context, genetic history. And so we never compare. We never
Mhm.
compare to other mothers and what their children are doing or milestones that they're hitting. But
Uh-huh.
we can take inspiration and just use it to as a something in our toolkit to then be empowered to deal with our own unique situation in our own home separately.
Mhm.
For me, I knew May was a Taurus moon,
Mhm.
which is an energy I'm very unfamiliar with. It's very
Mhm.
opposite from my Gemini moon.
Mhm.
So Taurus moon is slow, stable, earthy, grounded, enjoy pleasure, food, not making any changes too quickly. I'm a
Mhm.
Gemini moon. So I need quick
Mhm.
changes. I
Mhm.
need intellectual stimulation. I need to flit around like a butterfly.
Mhm.
Um, it's a very opposite energy.
Yeah.
Um, and then she's a Scorpio rising, and I'm a Scorpio sun.
Mhm.
And then she's a Gemini sun, and I'm a
Oh.
Gemini moon.
Mm.
So none of this in itself is absolute. Okay, this is who she is, this is who I am, and that's the ultimate fact. And let's put those together, and okay, this is the truth.
Yeah.
They're all just little waves and pieces of a much larger thing that we can use these tools or something else instead,
Mhm.
or even nothing at all, just your intuition to approach the child and their personality and needs. But I found that framework quite helpful because that works for my mind.
Mhm.
And so what I did with May was the main thing is the crying in that first year. I was so sleep deprived, so
Mhm.
malnourished, so
Mhm.
dysregulated,
Mhm.
or you could say so imbalanced within myself and
Mhm.
struggling that all I could focus on was hold her when she cries
Mhm.
and hold space for her experience. Say, I'm here and I'm listening. And put aside your own feelings in that moment to deal with later in private without the baby.
Mhm.
So basically, actively suppress your trigger response to
Mhm.
hold space for them. You
Mhm.
can't be acting from your trigger when your baby's crying. So,
Mhm.
in that situation, it is important to suppress temporarily and
Mhm.
hold space for the baby and allow the full range of emotion whenever they want to express something,
Mhm.
knowing that their body will come to the end of it at some point.
Mhm.
And the rule that I had based on aware parenting is I'm here and I'm listening.
Mhm.
That's all we need to do and all we need to say.
Mhm.
And they have autonomy over how much and how long they express.
Mhm.
And we hold the boundary of whatever it is that like we don't just cave and give them something to make them stop crying.
Mhm.
So um I'm kind of blending in a lot of those first 3 years. There's a lot of different approaches that kind of come together. At the beginning, it's with a newborn, it's really just about being present for them and trying not to die of starvation or thirst or sleep deprivation
Mhm.
because they need so much. And this is where you really fall on the level of your preparation of your village.
Mhm.
So my one job in my pregnancy was create a village like my life depends upon it.
Beautiful.
I moved to a home that has a granny flat so that my parents could be close by.
Mm.
I had my postpartum doula and like a friendship circle with the home birth community that I curated for over a year before I had the baby.
Oh, so
So I
beautiful.
had, yeah, as much support as I could as a person who was quite young. I was 24 and I
Mhm.
was the first of all my friends and siblings to have a baby. So
Mhm.
was really going first. There wasn't much at all except for what I created around me. And
What an
uh,
Aquarius rising thing to say to do is to go first and then create the community as you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. All I can say about those years is you have to remember you're in the trenches and that you are going to feel so much more resourced once you start sleeping a little bit
Mhm.
more.
Mhm.
And it's just a matter of, in my case, holding the baby whenever they need comfort
Mhm.
and like not overthinking it beyond that.
Mhm.
Um, and then as they grow older, like personally like I'm university educated in linguistics.
Mhm.
So phonetics, phonemics, syntax, semantics, morphology. For me, language is very important. It's a doorway to link people to each other,
Mhm.
and it's our words are how we create our lives. They have energy. So for me, I took it upon myself to free my child from a prison of incompetence with
Mhm.
speech and articulation. I think the best gift we can ever give our children is freeing them from prisons of incompetence in all kinds of ways.
I love that.
Let them become capable so that they can do what they like.
Yeah.
So since she was quite young, like earlier than 6 months, I would speak to her with full sentences and words and
Mhm.
then correct her whenever she like needed correction. So by the time she was 12 months, she was speaking in simple sentences,
Mhm.
marrying multiple elements of a sentence together to
Mhm.
communicate to people quite functionally.
Wow.
And then that just built from there. So I didn't baby her, but kind of trusted that she has it within her to say what she needs to say and have
And
the
how
patience to sit
empowering
with
when she
her.
can advocate for her needs because she has the language to do so.
Yes. Yeah. And then if you fast forward to 2 to 3, then she's saying things by 3, like, I want to connect with you,
Wow.
rather than what it could be is basically screaming about, I want this now, don't
Yeah.
do that, or hitting a sibling. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes the same thing.
Mhm.
Hitting a sibling, and now mama's mad at me, and then now I'm crying, and now I'm insisting I need something else. It's this cascade of all these irrelevant things that
Mhm.
really, like, it's our job as parents to pull them back to, okay, let's nip it in the bud from the very beginning. We
Mhm.
don't need to go into any of that unenjoyable family behavior.
Mhm.
It's showing my parent I actually need more connection with them than I'm getting recently.
Mhm.
And I'll communicate that by literally saying, I want to connect with you.
Mhm.
Please, can we connect?
Mhm.
Um, because sometimes, like as parents, like we do have a lot on our plate,
Yeah.
especially if we work for ourselves, we're, sometimes working from home or multitasking, and we often leave it up to the children to regulate how much we give them,
Mhm.
because if they don't need more connection, we can get more other stuff done a lot of the
Mhm.
time. So, um,
It's a good point.
yeah, it is helpful if both sides are aware of the relationship and looking at it and communicating to each other, not just the
Mhm.
parent guessing or getting upset at the child's behavior. So articulation and speech skills, I think, are just massively underrated.
Mhm.
Um, but also that's it really depends on the child. Like some children are much more physically active,
Mhm.
and they experience the world much more through their body than my daughter does.
Mhm.
I know some parents like that who've really allowed their child to lead them down that road. And so their life is, there's a lot of, they expend a lot of their parenting effort into taking the child into the car and out to some adventure every
Mhm.
day.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and there's less communication verbally between the parent and child, but it works for them because there's a
Mhm.
lot of communication non-verbally, with the fact that they're going on an adventure. And so there's this stable presence in that child's life of
Mhm.
my dad, um, is the one that's always there for me at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So yeah, in response to your question, I think in my case, holding space for feelings as long as they need to take,
Mm-hmm.
using the phrase, I'm here and I'm listening,
Mm-hmm.
temporarily suppressing your trigger response and dealing with that later if it
Mm-hmm.
upsets you that your baby's crying. And trusting that if they are allowed to cry, they will get to the other side of it and their body will show. You'll watch their shoulders drop,
Mm-hmm.
exhale, they calm down, they start smiling, laughing. Like this is a measurable experience. You can see that this is the pattern that they go through. If they're really allowed to cry and you're there for them, they will relax. And sleep much better. Even when older children, there's rough and tumble play before bed is a great way to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
School pickup's hectic, you come home after dinner, tickling or power reversal games where the child gets to be powerful and you're less powerful, or rough and tumble play that inevitably leads to some kind of minor injury with a big release of tears,
Mm-hmm.
exhale, tensions out of the body, and they sleep incredibly well.
Wow.
So tears, yeah, are definitely not something to avoid when it comes to raising children because they're a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful way to release tension. And children who are allowed to experience and express a lot of negative emotion in a held container
Mm-hmm.
are very peaceful and calm, and they sleep very well.
I love that. And I love just what you're saying around the adult us. We've gained the maturity, the evolution of understanding that I am responsible. I'm able to respond versus react. So I can hold space for this child while it's going through this emotional turmoil. And I can stay grounded in that. I can stay present in that. And then I know that I can go off later after this turbulent wave has crashed and then tend to that. But that's part of that like maturity that we evolve into, where it's beautiful just to hear you say that around the practical nature of hold space for the child, knowing that there is a suppression of your own reaction in that moment. But that's how powerful we are, is that we can intentionally respond versus react. And we can unpack that later after the child goes through that experience. And to be able to hold the stoicism of allowing the child to have the experience without suffocating it, without rushing it, without being afraid of tears emerging. I think that in itself feels like a really evolved path of parenting, too, where we're not trying to appease the parent by getting the child to quiet down quickly because it's stressing
Yes,
out the parent.
yes, yes.
And I know that you've been such a way shower for me. I've totally admired just your conscious separation in recognizing that you were chosen to mother this child. Your ex-husband was chosen to father this child. And there's an agreement that you all have in raising this child, even if the dynamics have changed. And I'm just curious with the tools, the practicality, and also knowing that this is part of your vocation, how you serve. Does this, is this something that your partner, that your ex-husband is practicing on the regular as well, so that when May is with him, there is some congruency there? Or how does that look?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for saying that, first of all, because it shocks me when people say that because I never think other people think of me or I'm having an impact in their lives because I'm just me, little old me, like in my tiny town in Australia, so tucked away in the corner of the world. Like you just, I wouldn't imagine that other people are benefiting from my content, especially when it's not like I've got that much content out there at the moment. There's
Mhm.
a lot in the works, but nothing's been created. Like my YouTube channel hasn't been created yet. I'm doing a lot of like under the surface work, so
Mhm.
it is
No,
always
girl, you are
humbling.
leaving an impact. You are certainly making an impact. And I just, I know that one of your values is authenticity, and the way that you show up is walk the walk. It's not just talk the talk. So I know there's thoughtfulness around what you share, because there are some, it's very personal to put any kind of relation dynamics on the internet. But the way that I feel like you've done it, which isn't, a whole bunch, but it's with so much integrity, so much respect for your partner, that you did, like you said at the beginning of the conversation, there was a death that happened. There was a release of one identity into another one, but it seems like it was done in such a evolved and respectful way that you now get to be that way shower for your daughter of what it looks like to love yourself so much that even when you have to make hard decisions and do hard things, you can do them gracefully. And so I feel that imprint of what you've consciously shared. So yeah, I would just love to hear a little bit more around all of that.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. I think, yeah, it kind of wraps back to this theme of embracing who you really are, which
Mm-hmm.
is what we as women, as we get older, we sort of naturally step into is,
Mm-hmm.
oh, like you sort of, it's also a bit of a hormonal thing because your tend and befriend hormone goes down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we don't really take as much shit, do we? We sort
Yeah.
of like, this is who I am, and I'm really unapologetic about
Yeah.
that.
Love it or
And
leave it, baby.
yeah, and in the mainstream society, you'd call me autistic, level one autistic and ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be my neurotype.
Mm-hmm.
In other formats, you might categorize me as highly agentic on the scale of mimetic to agentic, with agentic being having agency and mimetic being highly influenced by things and others around us. I'm
Mm-hmm.
highly agentic.
Mm-hmm.
My inner compass is very loud.
Mm-hmm.
And in maybe a psychospiritual context, you might call me um, like the veil is thin for me, and I
Mm-hmm.
have a very strong connection with my intuition, and I read energy very strongly.
Mm-hmm.
So this comes out as certain things in life are quite tricky for me, such as, remembering what day I have a dentist appointment or
Mm-hmm.
filling out a Google form, like
Mm-hmm.
hard, hard level 10 hard, right? The dopamine is not firing, like
Mm-hmm.
the ability to open the phone is just not coming.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas stewarding myself through a death process, being my own midwife, my own doula, birthing my child with not a single pharmaceutical in my whole pregnancy or birth, the only painkiller being my breath and warm water, birthing my baby into my arms. That feels a bit easier for me, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm driven by what's meaningful to me. So
Mm-hmm.
even if it's just a Google form, if I don't find that it's meaningful for me,
Mm-hmm.
my agency overrides and doesn't allow my brain to perform the activity.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the divorce, it's the same in that really, like, that was very meaningful for me and it was very aligned with me. So it was easier for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the same as the birth process. In giving birth consciously and with grace
Mm-hmm.
is like an experience of holding a very heavy weight above your head
Mm-hmm.
and not dropping it.
Mm-hmm.
The concentration required is so enormous. And this is my experience, is if I were to stop that concentration for a moment, the weight would immediately fall on me and I would be experiencing the physical sensation in the default mode of, I'm in pain, what the fuck, help, get me out of here, I'm gonna die, terror.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that story is pushing so strongly against you that to keep your story that you're choosing, which is that I can do this,
Mm-hmm.
I am doing this,
Mm-hmm.
I was built for this,
Mm-hmm.
I'm capable of this, I have all my hypnobirthing training behind me,
Mm-hmm.
or none of it, whatever, I can do this. You're holding that story of your own against this biology and your conditioning of when I'm in pain, I need to be scared,
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, this isn't actually pain. It's sensation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm experiencing very intense physical sensation, and I'm going to transmute that on the spectrum of pain to pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the experience that I'm choosing to perceive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like requires all your concentration,
Mm-hmm.
um, because you're also trying to actively relax your muscles
Mm-hmm.
around, well, your whole body. So you're thinking of the story that you're holding, and on
Mm-hmm.
the other hand, you're thinking, relax my vagina.
Yeah.
So there's these things going on. It requires so much concentration, and orchestrating a gentle separation of a divorce is similar,
Mm-hmm.
but rather than the intensity being packed into 20 minutes or 48 hours of labor,
Mm-hmm.
it's in 24 months
Mm-hmm.
of gentle transitions.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you slip in those times and go into reactivity, and then you go pull it back, pull
Mm-hmm.
back the concentration again. It's like, I'm holding this, I'm holding this, I'm holding this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep with my deep, deep listening to spirit, my deep, deep listening to my inner self and inner knowing to make sure I'm on the path, that this is my true path. And um, the way that my journey went was there was a lot of commitment in our relationship on both sides. It wasn't an anxious avoidant dance, and it wasn't an avoidant dance. It was an anxious dance
Mm-hmm.
with obviously elements of security on both sides as well.
Mm-hmm.
So just to paint a bit of a picture, when there is an anxious avoidant dance between a male and a female, even if you're married and you have children together, there's a bit of a push-pull dynamic of one of them wants more connection, one wants more freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And this can be very magnetic. It keeps a lot of polarity there. With avoidant avoidance, there can be a lot of peace, way less drama.
Mm-hmm.
However, quite difficult to make big life decisions together and actually progress, like
Mm-hmm.
actually get married, actually move in together, actually have a baby. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of peace, not a lot of fighting, not a lot of drama, but also not a lot of progress.
Mm-hmm.
And then anxious is the opposite. So
Mm-hmm.
there's also more peace in anxious compared to anxious avoidant, but that peace comes from mutual people pleasing to maintain the connection. Both are leaning into the connection
Mm-hmm.
rather than avoidance of focusing on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Anxious will both lean in, but this comes at the cost of some self-abandonment. So you could see codependency in anxious ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I say this to preface that my content online about loving your ex-husband and maintaining a love-based relationship, co-parenting relationship, that's unique to my journey of being in an anxious bond.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's some of the stuff that works for me would be there would be contraindications for another bond for
Mm-hmm.
other people. If you have a father who's very uninvolved,
Mm-hmm.
who's quite avoidant, my advice about how, or not my advice, but my journey of leaning in and loving more wouldn't be helpful in that situation. In fact, I think you'd do something quite opposite
Mm-hmm.
to make that a functional co-parenting relationship. So
Mm-hmm.
just to preface it in that my bond with my ex-husband was anxious, very loving, people pleasing on both sides, and a bit of codependence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so my journey was not about having to stand up for I deserve love.
Mm-hmm.
It was having to stand up for I deserve to be my full self. I
Mm-hmm.
deserve sovereignty and autonomy to find who I truly am,
Mm-hmm.
not being suffocated in a context where your desire for me to be your vision of me is bigger
Mm-hmm.
and it's like I'm being oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
So this journey involved having to lovingly accept that this person's values for what they think is important, my values don't align.
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't room for me to be my full self in this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And it's eroding my sense of self. It's eroding my future. Everything is eroding, and I can feel that with it.
Mhm.
And it's quite hard to accept that when a lot of your stability is based on a marriage. You live together, you have assets together, you have a child together. It's all you've ever known. You've been married
Mhm.
since you were 18.
Oh,
Everybody knows you as
wow.
this identity. When you go places, you get to say, that's my husband or I'm someone's wife. There's
Mhm.
a stability that comes with that, that you have to give up to fully acknowledge the truth is that of the erosion of your sense of self.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so what was your question again? How do we manage?
Yeah, how do you have congruency around what your values are on the way that you parent, especially with
Yeah,
that sovereignty?
yes,
Because this is
yeah,
something that you're learning so much coming from that anxious relationship.
yeah, yeah. So this is the thing is, I really respect this man,
Hmm.
and I I make sure that there's room for him to parent the way that he wants. He's her parent too.
Hmm.
And the fact is we do not have all the same values when it comes to parenting.
Hmm.
And however, we do both prioritize parenting over everything else in our life.
Hmm.
So even though we don't have the same vision for her, like I'm very much freedom focused, sovereignty focused. I want her to find herself, very Aquarius rising of me. He's a Leo rising. He's a Leo rising, okay? Just imagine in the French Revolution, I would have been in the streets ready to overthrow the monarchy, and he would have been defending the monarchy with a uniform on. Yeah. So Leo rising, Aquarius rising here, and that he wants to instill tradition to anchor her in her lineage, to let her know that her identity is I am the daughter of this person, the granddaughter of this person, and I carry with me the codes of my ancestors. And I'm saying this very beautifully, but there's a shadow side to that when it starts to interrupt somebody's autonomy.
Yeah.
I think when any way can be healthy, and any way, any format, any focus can be unhealthy when it starts to dip into stripping people of their own autonomy. That's control, right?
You're
If there's
right.
a control, abuse, neglect, physical domination, force, coercion, those things are more the problem rather than the actual focus of, oh, I want her to be traditional, oh, I want her to be creative.
Hmm.
So for me, it's not so much a problem that he has a different vision for her. It's more a problem of fundamentally, I value individual sovereignty over the collective, and he values the collective over the individual.
Hmm.
So there is a mismatch of values, which is why um, we couldn't live together and run a home together, because it got to the point where I realized one of us will always be self-abandoning to make this home and this family function together.
Hmm.
And I prefer that he builds a beautiful life with someone who has the same values, and I do the same in my own home. And she gets to see four adults who deeply love and respect each other,
Hmm.
and stay on their side of the fence. Four
Hmm.
adults who love her and are devoted to her and put the children first, who are
Hmm.
showing her different parts of life. Some
Yeah.
who are showing her, but he's a Christian now, so
Hmm.
showing her traditional, like church life, and then me showing her a a relationship with spirit that's very individual and visceral through the body.
Hmm.
Um, I want her to experience both. I'm very happy that he takes her to church and shows her that life, and
Hmm.
he also respects that there are some parts of the church that I expect him to protect her from, and he's committed to doing that. So yeah, there are differences in our values, but there are also certain fundamental um, similarities. Like we'll always make time for each other.
Hmm.
In fact, today, because I messed up the timing of this call. I was supposed to be having an admin meeting with him during this time.
Oh,
I said, I'll
wow.
do that after. Yeah, yeah. Like to discuss him taking her to France to visit his family at the end of the year and schooling things, and then also emotional things like she's starting to become very specific in asking how babies are made. So
Mhm.
as she gets older, we can bring a little more complexity in every time. And she's starting to say, okay, but how does the seed get into the woman's belly
Oh
is
my
what I'm asking.
goodness.
So like her
And she's
specificity around the
5.
question, she's not 5, she's 5 soon.
Oh
But yeah,
my goodness.
Kenma and I want to align on that because
Yeah,
our response is changing and becoming more complex as time goes on, and we want to be saying the same thing.
I love that.
Um,
Well, I hear
yeah,
just like so much respect for one another, respect in the individual parenting style, respect that there are differences, but that there's so much respect in how you all bring these things forward. And I think that's really what I feel and what seems to be so emitted between you all is there might be a difference of opinion, but there is a deep value for one another having those opinions and for creating that bridge that allows it to all coexist. And just like
yeah,
we said at the beginning, these children, they don't belong to us, but they come through us, and they chose you and they chose him to have the plethora of experiences and the interesting dynamics to choose from. And what you were saying also around just, finding a way that the pendulum doesn't have to swing so hard in both ways. I think so much of that, just finding that middle path, is around just the respect for what it is and what you both bring to the table, and prioritizing the parenting with the structure of meetings to let's talk about this. How are we going to unpack this? How can we be on the same page around this specific topic? um, that's beautiful, and it's beautiful to have that not just in the union but also on the other side of the union, to still know that you're both pillars for this child's development.
yes, yeah. Yeah, I've learned just as much as the observers of this divorce, because
Mm-hmm.
I also thought before this divorce that it's quite binary of you're together as a married couple or you're divorced. So a
Mm-hmm.
child has married parents or divorced parents, when actually it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
It's that um what children need is their parents to be committed to the container,
Mm-hmm.
investing in love,
Mm-hmm.
and you can actually have that with divorced parents.
Mm-hmm.
And the union actually it lives on past the divorce because the
Mm-hmm.
union is like a commitment to the family, even
Mm-hmm.
if there isn't a romantic connection between the parents
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, to create new partners and new families each separately, the new partners have to be quite secure
Mm-hmm.
to handle that level of a bond, and they have to be people who can put the child first.
Mm-hmm.
And um and that's totally possible in today's day and age. um but yeah, the bond between us is still very strong, and it always will be. Like it's kind of like blood family, but
Mm-hmm.
instead of sharing a parent like siblings would, we're sharing a child. But
Mm-hmm.
the level of devotion to this unit and this
Mm-hmm.
lineage is the same.
Mm-hmm.
And we cultivated that over 9 years of being married and getting over stuff together and leaning into commitment and choosing the union over our own individual needs and
Mm-hmm.
desires. And that's why I stayed so long, and that's why there was no backsliding after the separation, is I was sure.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed a very long time and I was very sure that this was a values misalignment,
Mm-hmm.
that is irreconcilable. It's not the same as curriculum, and egos rubbing up against each other, which is the work of a marriage that you grind down and smooth those stones together.
Yeah.
This is not that anymore. We've done all that. And what's left is whether our values are fundamentally compatible, and they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor of grinding down those egos together and getting over stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't a waste. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
glad we spent that 9 years together, because that built the strong foundation of the union that we continue to have now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think because for me, I'm a I really value commitment, and once you've made a commitment, that's it. Like burn the
Yeah.
boats.
Yeah.
And the only reason to ever leave is abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think like there was abuse in our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like for me and the way that I see the world, it makes sense, and it's the best thing for May for us to live in two separate houses and run our own lives
Mm-hmm.
and have the maximum amount of unity and connection and relating with each other that we can without dipping over into something that becomes unhealthy. So
Mm-hmm.
for us, that's like seeing each other like probably 3 times a week, um, and having big admin days once a year,
Mm-hmm.
and to a lesser degree every few months,
Mm-hmm.
and being part of the same communities, seeing each other at social gatherings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
um, yeah, that's our journey.
well, it's a beautiful journey. And yeah, I think there is a powerful reframe in just the conscious separation that allows two people to be who they came here to be. And I know that I grew up in a dynamic of really unhappy parents that wanted to stay together for the children. And all of my siblings would be like, we just want you to get divorced. Like, please get divorced, you know? And like, there were times that my dad moved out, and like, those were some of the happiest memories because I got to see them in their full power and their full autonomy without people pleasing or anxious around one another. And so I do think that there are so many people, especially in this old dynamic around you stay together for the children. And there's actually so much empowerment around choosing to consciously separate for the children and also for one another, because you can do both. You can have it all. You can have the respect and the union and prioritizing the children, but also retaining who you are, not losing yourself in the relationship. So I do think that there's a powerful lesson that May gets to learn from all of this around what it really is to be empowered to choose yourself and to know, just like you said at the beginning, you belong in every room. Love is not something to be earned, and you get to experience that and show that through the way that even when this parent dynamic didn't go the way that you thought it were when you said your vows, the vow was still there to create a pillar for this child. And I really value that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was a beautiful summary, and I know we're wrapping up shortly, but as
Yeah.
you were saying that, I was thinking, wow, it's so interesting. Um, like in my body, as you say, conscious separation and choosing oneself, I feel this like, oh, it doesn't make sense kind of thing, because separation is the energy we want to move away from. And I think I realized what it is the reason why people go, that's all bullshit, like conscious separation, conscious uncoupling,
Mm-hmm.
like blah blah blah. It's because it's true that moving towards separation makes no sense if you're thinking of unity consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Moving towards separation isn't a step up. But the reason why it makes sense is because it's actually not conscious separation, it's conscious union. You're
Mm-hmm.
creating more of a union for the
Mm-hmm.
child. You're
Yeah.
creating a better context and a setup for them to experience more harmony and union. That
Yeah.
us having two separate houses is
Yes.
what allows us to always be on good terms with each other. Whereas when we were
Yeah.
living together, there was tension, disharmony, and separation. So
Mm-hmm.
living together was like a separation consciousness, a separation frequency, whereas living apart is a union frequency.
I
So
love
actually,
that.
the union is strong. It's stronger than it ever has been
Yeah.
because
There's
now
more
we're both standing in
harmony.
a There's more harmony. We're both standing in our full power. When we see each other now, there's no taking each other for granted. We
Mhm.
don't get to see each other every day, so we're fully present. We make a
Mhm.
lot more eye contact. Our
Mhm.
bodies are more centered and grounded,
Mhm.
and we have more respect for this human being that we don't just own
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So the harmony and union is much stronger, and the separation is much lesser in this path for us. And I think that might help people understand why do they feel in their bodies the idea of conscious separation doesn't like sound good. It's
Mhm.
because yeah, it really isn't separation. It's more like union.
Yeah, I love
Union
that
to the absolute,
reframe.
like the best, to the maximum level that that dyad is capable of.
Yes. Oh, that's such a powerful reframe. And I love that you said it like that. Thank you for articulating that. And yeah, as we begin to wind down here for sure, I'd love to hear just what do you hope that May remembers about you?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. Um, about me, I mean, of course, I want her to be, I want her to feel fully, you know, deserving of love in herself, whether it's from me mainly giving that to her or something else from her life. But from me specifically, I I want her to remember that I fully showed up in this earth space,
Mhm.
that I was as imperfect as every other human that incarnates here, but I had courage and I followed the truth. I
Mhm.
always chose the truth, even if it took me a moment at first. That I believed in every human's ability to steward themselves and their own life through this dimension. That, I came and I struggled a lot with really wanting to be in this realm,
Mhm.
trying to escape a lot through all different kinds of ways.
Mhm.
And that, like, the most radical thing that I did, that I really want her to remember more than, speaking at events or running courses or way showing to other women, facilitating things, or running businesses and making money. What I want her to really remember is that I chose to fully ground down into the 3D
Mhm.
with all its like denser vibration that exists here,
Mhm.
and how confronting that is when you fully see it for what it is, how dark it is down here. That the biggest challenge I ever had in this life was not metacognition, not metacognition, not seeing beyond, not seeing through the veil, not uh, psychoanalyzing everybody and seeing through the bullshit of this society and the government or anything, but that my biggest challenge was to stop rising above the muck and
Mhm.
actually fully land in it and be
Mhm.
one of the people.
Mhm.
And for that to just be enough,
Mhm.
for a cup of tea and going to work, like starting your car engine and going to work,
Mhm.
dealing with just anyone, like
Mhm.
that. I chose for that to be enough for me and to fully land here. And if I can do that, like she can certainly do whatever curriculum is the hardest for her.
Mhm.
That's what and as I say that, I feel emotional because honestly, that is my biggest challenge. It's
Mhm.
really my edge, and I'm learning to embrace it now.
Mhm.
But anything that's grounded and not beautiful goddess, airy fairy
Mhm.
vibes
Mhm.
and oracle wisdom
Mhm.
feels yucky to me. It's what
Mhm.
I resist. It's where my resistance most lies.
Mhm.
I don't love it,
Mhm.
but I am choosing. And I think love is really a choice. We
Mhm.
don't always feel it at first, but we choose every day. So, in my consistency, that quiet, no loud romantic gestures,
Mhm.
no me declaring my love for Earth and going, today, from today, I choose you and I'm going to be here. But no, just showing up every single day.
Yeah.
just continuing to go through the motions of buying groceries and
Yeah.
paying bills.
Yeah.
Like me choosing that every day is my love letter
Hmm.
to this life. So I would want her to see that I did the hardest thing for me, so she
Hmm.
can also do the hardest things for her.
That's beautiful. And yeah, just thinking about all the air in your big three, astrologically, and to think this beautiful little being came in with this Taurus moon just to help you anchor that, just to help in the routine and the consistency and the devotion of showing up every single day. And what divine intelligence that came in to show you and to bring you exactly the thing that of course would be the most challenging but would also be the most rewarding, and the thing that will be so impressionable is for her one day to look back and think my mom gave it all she had. I love it. Is there
Thank you
anything
for
left on your heart that you'd love to share before we close out? Anything that's alive for you now?
mm. Well, just as you said that, what I was thinking was, wow, May's actually helping me to become a safer partner for my future partner,
Mm,
because what a secure man would be afraid of when assessing me would not be, would I run away to another man and get bored?
mhm,
It would be, am I anchored enough in this reality, or would I want to run away from this reality? Can
mhm,
I choose this reality every day, regardless of whether a man's in my life or not? Because the burden of being somebody's whole purpose is too much for a secure person. A secure person doesn't want someone who's going to be a project. They want a
yeah,
peer and a partner who's
yeah,
already anchored in themselves.
yeah.
And then from that place to build. So May actually teaching me to ground in um, is inadvertently making me a safer, like it's closing that gap of, because I've got obviously the conscious communication, I've got high empathy, high compassion, like certain like psychological and interrelational skills. But
Mhm.
what a real secure man would sense in me and would watch if they met me today is, I'm not sure that she's not a flight risk fully, not to other men, but the planet. So, so as you were saying that, I was just like, oh, interesting. Like May's actually helping me in
Yeah,
that way. In a way, she's manifesting her own stepfather by doing
yeah,
that.
yes. That's a good way to
She's
think about
actually
it
been
too.
manifesting things like I've been watching her manifest her whole life. She is really powerful. Like she talks about stuff, and then 2 months later, I'm like, do you see what's around us? Like that was all her. So anyway,
Wow. Oh, I love it so much. Oh, thank you for
thank you
this
so much for
time.
speaking with me today. That was actually very soul nourishing for my heart.
Oh, ditto, ditto. Oh, it's so wonderful to hear this journey and just to really feel like I'm listening to the evolution of relationships and parenting and this where we came from. I know that we've been moving from where we came from, but to actually get a really good look at where we are going and to see what's coming up next, I think that this has been so full of wisdom on sharing from that perspective of sovereignty and sovereign stewardship of being with children in this new way. So I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for this time and everything that you shared. And I so look forward to our next drop in.
Yes, me too. So much more to unpack
So
next
much
time.
more. Namaste,
Thank you.
sister. Mm.
Namaste. So